aspects of the elementary particles, which are very important part of this modern physics as well as the nuclear physics. Now please remember, in earlier session we have discussed the nuclear forces, and we have said that these nuclear forces exist between proton proton, neutron neutron, or neutron proton, and like that, and that forces are responsible to have a stability for a given nucleus. Now right from the beginning of this particular session, or this particular syllabus of this subject, nuclear physics, we were talking about several different types of particles like electron, proton, neutron, etc. Along with that, sometimes we have called positron, sometimes we have called gamma particle, photon, and sometimes just now in earlier discussion we have seen there are few more particles that is called as mesons or pions, etc. These are the particles that are to be studied, and we have to categorize them all according to the methods developed in particle physics, either by statistical method or depending upon their mass. We can separate out these particles, we can study their properties, and all these particles, almost all these particles, actually the total number of all such particles may be more than 100, maybe more than that, exact number is not known. Day by day new particles are being invented, and all these particles are one of the very important aspect of this entire universe, that how this universe has been shaped in this particular format, the present format, today's format in which we are living. That is because of these type of several elementary particles and their interactions, their nature, their properties, and so many things. So right from the beginning we have studied in the atom. We have studied the properties of atom, how atom looks, how it behaves, what is the structure, how electrons revolve around this nucleus, and physical chemical properties of atoms have been discussed at length. Then we entered into atoms, and we have seen that along with electrons which are revolving around something very heavy, that is called as nucleus. And this nucleus carries, as we have already discussed, nucleus carries almost all mass of an atom. It is heavy object. The size of nucleus is much smaller as compared to size of the atom. In that sense, inside an atom there is an enough empty space. And when we look into the nucleus, we have found that nucleus is composed of neutrons and protons. Shall we call them elementary particle? Need not. Neutrons and protons are not elementary particle. Electron is. Why and how? That is what we are going to discuss here. That is what I have written that what next. So when we go for careful study of this neutrons and protons, we found that they also have certain internal structure, and this internal structure is discussed in terms of another elementary particles, or another building blocks of all these neutrons and protons. These are called as quarks. So this quark model is also we are going to discuss to certain extent, including these quarks, electrons, and some other elementary particles. This becomes a total zoo of elementary particles. Now before we go to these elementary particles, their classification and etc., we are needed to understand certain interactions, that is called as fundamental interactions. Some of interactions already we have used several times, some of interactions we are going to introduce newly as here. So this particular next slide that takes you to the, just a minute. So in the next slide we will see there are certain very fundamental forces existing in nature. These are the forces which shape actual universe around us, right from microparticles to galaxies and clusters of galaxies and so many things. So this, in the entire universe, in physics we come across different types of forces, but out of all these forces, these are the only four forces which are called as fundamental forces, because every other force we observe in nature is the manifestation of some of these forces. Out of that, already we have discussed in first discussion, earlier discussion, that is a strong force. the force which is responsible for holding all the nucleons inside the nucleus, and these are the certain properties we have mentioned. First one is, it is called as a short range force. We already discussed range of this particular force is almost 1 Fermi or 10 raised to minus 15 meters, shortest of range, and that this force doesn't exist beyond the nucleus. Whatever force between proton, neutrons or neutron, proton, etc. that exists inside nucleus only, which is of the size of 10 raised to minus 15 meters or 1 Fermi. Then this particular force is responsible for binding of quarks. Actually, proton, neutrons, they are bounded by quarks, and this particular force comes in existence with the quarks. So this responsible for binding quarks into neutrons and protons, and in that case, whatever exchange or interaction takes place between all these quarks, these are the particles which are called as exchange particles, which are called as gluons. So this is actually one of the elementary particle, but we are not going to concentrate more on this particular exchange particle. Second important force, that is called as weak force. Now why it is weak? As compared to strong and electromagnetic force, it is weak force. That's why it is a weak force, and this force is 10 raised to minus 6 times. That means 10 lakh times smaller, or it's weaker as compared to this strong force of the nuclear force. So this force is 10 raised to minus 6 times as strong as the strong force, minus 6. That's why it is smaller as compared to, it is weaker as compared to the strong force. Then this force is responsible for beta decay. Beta decay is one of the phenomena wherein from the nucleus the electron comes out. So in that particular process, one of the neutron gets converted into a proton, and the electron is not allowed to remain inside the nucleus, as it does not possess certain qualities. For example, energy of that electron is always much less than required to remain inside the nucleus. That's why this electron is easily thrown away, and that is what our beta decay. This beta decay of a nucleus that occurs because of this type of special independent force, which is called as weak force. We have not discussed much about earlier about this particular force, so just remember, this is the force which is responsible for this beta decay. And see, range of this force is still smaller as compared to the range of this strong force. So it is again 10 raised to minus 18 meters. So 1000 times it is smaller than the range of this particular strong force. And these are the particles W plus, W minus and Z0. These are the called as bosons, or these are said to be the particles which gives rise to this type of force, which is called as weak force. So the arena of this force is much smaller as compared to other forces, and applications of that is again very limited. Strong force is here, that is responsible for stability of the nucleus. Weak force here, that is responsible for beta decay. Another very common and very simple and known force, much known, this particular force is called as electromagnetic force. This force is because of charges, positive, negative charges, single charge, double charge, triple charge, multiple charges, etc. Based upon that, this type of forces are called as electromagnetic forces. We know that electromagnetic force is of two types. One is attractive force, second is repulsive force. This is also called as Coulombic force. And this particular force, its range, if it is calculated, it is 10 raised to minus 2, as strong force, or 10 raised to 2 times weaker as compared to the strong force. 100 times it is weaker as compared to the strong force, and this is what the given here. One more very important characteristics of this force is that this force is 1 upon r square dependence. That means we can see this particular force goes on decreasing as r goes on increasing. So this decrease is 1 upon r square. This is called as inverse square law. So this particular force is the force which is also mathematically it is represented by this inverse square equation, and therefore it is called as inverse square law. And this force is responsible for binding atoms and molecules together. So electrons that are bound to the atom or inside the nucleus, inside the atom, around the nucleus, as well as molecular bonding, this is possible because of this electromagnetic force. And photon, this is called as virtual particle, which is responsible for exchange of exchange of this particular force, or this force comes into rise because of this exchange of this type of particles which are called as photons. Now these are again one of the elementary particle which is called as massless particle. So photons are particle which are not supposed to have any mass, but they travel with velocity of light that is equal to c. All these things are known to us. And remember, whatever forces around us, okay, whatever force we come across on the surface of earth, maximum force is this, our motion, then fuel combustion, or whatever I'm talking here, that is also because of this electromagnetic force and all that. We are interacting with each other through this particular technology. There also this electromagnetic force is coming in picture. And last one, fourth one, is that is called as gravitational force. Now this is again very known to all of us. This is 10 raised, now look at its magnitude. It is 10 raised to minus 43 times as strong force. So as compared to the strong nuclear force, this is 10 raised to 43 times weaker, and therefore this is called as the weakest force inside the universe. Amongst all these forces, this is weakest, this is the strongest, it is strongest one, and this is the weakest one. So that is to be understood, this weak gravitational force is much weaker as compared to the strong force, but still this force is responsible for all the phenomenon what we are seeing, like this earth is moving around sun is moving somewhere in this particular galaxies. There are several galaxies which are formation of the galaxies and all its characteristics that are characterized by this type of force that is called as gravitational force. As whatever we are living on the surface of earth, whenever we throw anything on the surface of earth, it comes down because of this gravitational force. So this particular force, even whatever weaker it is, but its implication is much bigger. What we are where we are living or where we are seeing, that particular force is called as gravitational force. Now one more important characteristic of this force is this is also 1 upon r square type of force, or inverse square law can be applied for measurement of this force too. To understand this force, or to go for understanding this force, we can go for this type of 1 upon r square relationship. So this force and this electromagnetic force both are the inverse square law forces, whereas this strong force and weak forces, these are not of the nature which is called as inverse square law. And the exchange particle, this is called as a thought particle. Okay, it is practically, it has not been investigated yet, but these gravitrons are said to be there, which exchange this type of particular force. Now I'll just ask a very simple question: why to learn all these forces? Why we are needed to learn all these forces? Why we are needed to understand all these forces? Because whatever in elementary particles we are going to discuss further, these particles interact with each other either a strong force way or weak force way or electromagnetic force way or gravitational force way, and based upon that we have to classify all them. Without learning this type of interactions, sometimes these are called as interactions too. Okay, so sometimes we call force, sometimes we call it to be interactions. So whatever interactions between all these type of particles, these interactions fundamentally amongst all these force, either this or this. So we have to understand this relationship between interactions and the elementary particles and their properties. That's why we are needed to understand the basic fundamental forces, and these are the four only forces, their properties and so many things. In examination, some questions may be based upon that, wherein we are supposed to describe, we are supposed to identify some of the properties of these type of fundamental forces existing in nature. Now based upon that, whatever number of particles we have known till now, and we are going to introduce some of the particles, we can classify these particles based upon certain interactions. So what that means what interaction, what type of interaction that particular particles undergo or interact with each other, based upon that we can classify them. Second way of classification is based upon the statistics, either bosons or fermions. This is second way of classification of this particle. Third way of classification of their particles is based upon the masses. So we are using all these three parameters, their statistics, their masses, their interactions, and based upon that we can classify several number of particles into several groups as shown here. This is called as particle zoo. Okay, zoo means we have the zoo is the is the concept where we use in everyday life. In zoo, there are several animals are kept in different cages according to their characteristic, their properties, and so many things. And usually, okay, the birds are kept separate. Then other animals like tiger and lions, they are kept to be somewhere different. So there are certain parameters that are to be satisfied, and accordingly these animals are separated. Here also we are using certain parameters to separate them from each other, and that's why we are calling it to be a particle zoo. Otherwise there is no relationship at all between these particles, the elementary particles, and whatever word zoo we use in everyday practice. Forget about that. So first classification is called as hadrons. Now hadrons, okay, this word comes the particles which undergo for strong force interactions, the elementary particles which interact with each other with the help of strong force interaction. These particles are called as hadrons, and all these particles, they have certain internal structures which are composed of certain elementary particles. These are called as quarks. So hadrons, first classification, that is strong force interaction undergo, and they are composed of certain quarks. And we have already met some of the mesons, that is middle weight. So we have already seen pi plus, pi minus, and pi 0. These are the three types of middle weight particles, of which masses are in the range of 275 times mass of electron and so on. Or in terms of this MeV, we can mass energy relationship, we can find out their masses. So these are the particles which are middle weight particles. This pi plus, pi minus, pi 0 and this proton, neutron, electrons, they combinedly called as this called as not electrons, proton, neutrons, and this mesons, or this pi plus, pi minus, pi 0, entire composition or entire group is called as hadrons. Okay, so hadrons means the particles undergoing this strong force interaction, and they are composed of certain quarks. So all this group is called as hadron group, and these particles are not stable, they are unstable one. They undergo certain decay, and after decay these particles decay into either electrons, neutrinos, another variety of elementary particles which we have not introduced till now, and then certain photons are there. So this particular hadron group particles have these characteristics: strong force interaction, they are composed of quarks, they have weights right from 230 somewhere million mass times mass of electrons to very large particles like protons and neutrons. And all these particles are unstable, they undergo certain interactions, and they produce electrons, neutrinos, and photons, and so many things. So out of that, there are again two more groups can be done in these hadrons. One is called as baryons. Okay, baryons. Remember, these are the words that have been used from Latin literatures. Baryons means heavy. Now protons and neutrons, which are supposed to be heavy particles as compared to electrons, already we have seen mass of electron is almost the mass of proton divided by 1836, this much smaller. So mass of proton is much bigger as compared to mass of electron, and therefore these particles are called as heavy particles. So proton, neutron onwards, the particles which are having their masses more than proton and neutron, these are all called as baryons. And now remember here, still other more exotic baryons exist there. We have not heard their names till today. So this is called as lambda, sigma, sigma, omega, etc. All are heavier than protons and neutrons. And but one very interesting about these particles is that all these particles, heavy particles having masses more than protons and neutrons, these particles decay into end product, which is include a proton, and that is the maximum stable. So in this particular group, proton has maximum stability, proton decay is never observed. Okay, so remember, proton decay is never observed. Means what? Since proton is not decaying, that's why it is existing there inside the atom, and electron is revolving around in the nucleus. Electron is revolving around the nucleus, thereby there is a stable nucleus and stable atom is possible. If that particular tendency of the proton, decay tendency, would have been there, then no stable atom would have formed, no stable atom, and nothing would have been there. So no existence of the universe would have been there. So very carefully nature has given property to this proton. whatever heavy particles bigger than protons, they can decay, and final stable product obtained is always proton. Neutron decay is observed. So as long as inside nucleus there is proton and neutron, this neutron whenever it is inside it is stable, but whenever it is comes out of this nucleus as a separate neutron, then it undergoes decay and it produces proton and some other elementary particle there. So neutron is also unstable outside of the nucleus, it is stable inside the nucleus, that is to be understood. So this particular group is called as barium group. So hadrons or baryons, okay, hadrons means strong interaction, based upon strong interaction. Baryons means heavy particles mass having their masses more than proton and neutron, and this number or this list is very large. Day by day, as much as energy we are increasing, high energy physics we are studying, more and more such particles are coming in existence which were not known earlier. So not only proton and neutron, in that group there are several other particles, and they have lot many different types of properties as compared to protons and neutrons, but all these decay and they decay into stable proton. That is one group. Second important classification, that is called as leptons. Now leptons means small or lightweight particles, okay? For example, like electron. So electron, if its mass, if it is we calculated or we write its mass in energy unit, it is 0.51 MeV, whereas mass of proton we have already seen, this is almost 936 MeV, million electron volts. Energy unit is used. This mass is much bigger as compared to. So particles like electrons and like that, there are few more particles which are in the lepton group, but they have some more masses, they have higher masses, they are also included in this group. But to remember this particle, why they are called as leptons, means these are the lightweight particles, their weight is much smaller. These are point-like particles, okay? So wave particle nature, if we are going to apply for that, these particles as good as look like a point-like particles. They do not possess any internal structure, as in case of earlier hadron group we have seen proton, neutron or heavy particles, they all have internal structures, and that is what their components, constituents are called as quarks. Here in case of this type of particles, there is no internal structure and they have their own structure. We cannot divide these particles further, and yet has been written. That means maybe after some years, as we are going to increase this energy of the particles, or in the particle physics, more and more sophisticated energetic devices coming in, maybe after some years this electron and this type of particles may be thought to have some other small components, but this is yet a theoretical one, this is not a practical case. In all, there exist 6 different types of leptons. Six leptons are there. What are they? First one is electron, second one is called as muon, symbol is mu, third one is tau, and symbol that is for this Greek letter that is said to be tau. Now every lepton is associated with some other type of neutrinos, okay? These are another variety of the particles which are always associated with this electron, muon as well as tau, etc. And these are called as the neutrinos. What are these neutrinos? Neutrinos symbol is going to be nu e, nu mu and nu tau. So these are the 3 neutrinos are there, and these 3 leptons are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. These are the 6 leptons in this group. They are lightweight particles. Actually this tau meson has large lepton has large mass, but almost all these particles, they have very small mass as compared to masses of the protons and neutrons, and that's why they are in this particular group. Now neutrinos are not, don't confuse with neutrinos and neutron. Neutron is very heavy, whereas neutrino is very small particle, energy particle, having almost velocity equal to velocity of light. And remember, for each and every member here, there is an antiparticle. So in all 6 leptons plus 6 antiparticles are there. Electron has its antiparticle, that is called as anti-electron, or that is called as positron. Muon has its own antiparticle, that is anti-muon. Tau also has its own antiparticle, and all these 3, they have their antiparticles which are represented by nu e bar, nu mu bar as well as nu tau bar, and so on. So these are all these 3 antiparticles of these 3 neutrinos. So remember, whenever an interaction occurs and electron comes out, it is always associated with this electron anti-electron neutrino. So this particle and this antiparticle comes out there. When this E plus comes out, in that case, along with this will come to be nu E plus. When this mu plus comes, then it will come nu mu minus or nu mu bar. So this type of particle will come out there. So more about that will be see when we go for actual interactions and reactions later on. And here the neutrinos, which have a very tiny mass and which is given to be 3 electron volts as compared to this mass of the proton and neutron. You can imagine this mass of this particle is very less, but they carry a large amount of energy. And it is said that in the universe, this is going to be one of the, I think you might have heard something about this neutrino energy. So people are now searching for this type of neutrino energy, and this type of source of the neutrinos which are coming from all directions of the universe in a very large number. As long as I have said this statement, one statement, maybe hundreds of neutrinos have passed through my body. So continuously, day by night, years after years, billions of years, such neutrinos are moving throughout this universe. They are directly passing through the earth. And somehow, if we could trap some of the neutrinos and we could generate their energy into useful electrical energy, that is going to be the future source of energy. Now forget about the solar energy, forget about the fuel energy, anything. If it is possible theoretically or practically as well to trap this neutron and get their energy, then there won't be no energy problem at all in this particular in this universe, as I'm saying. So this is going to be one of the great source of energy for a future. And this group, as we have discussed, this is called as leptons. So already we have seen hadrons. We have seen this is another group of 6 plus 6 particles, 6 antiparticles. These are said to be the lepton group. And in between light and heavy, there is one more group that is called as the, I think that we have not discussed here, that is called as mesons. Okay, so mesons is another group. So mesons, actually I think I have written it somewhere. Hadrons, then this is baryons, leptons and mesons. So mesons is intermediate. Now all these particles like pi plus, pi minus, pi 0, then there is kaon, k plus, k minus, etc. Again, this list is very large. Their masses are in between leptons and hadrons, or leptons and baryons, and these particles are called as mesons. Now mesons are essentially all bosons. Bosons means their spin is always +1, -1, etc. or 0. So integral spin of these particles, so all these particles are said to be boson. This classification we are going to see next in the next slide again. And all these leptons, these are said to be fermions, because all these particles, they have their spin to be simply 1/2 or 3/2 and like that. And these baryons or the hadrons, which we already seen, the baryons, that is protons, neutrons and other heavy particles, these are also supposed to be fermions because their spin is again going to be half. So this type of differentiation must be understood in this sense, and that's what, when we try to classify the elementary particle on the basis of statistics. So this is said to be a statistical distribution of the particle. In statistical mechanics, we are going to learn there are 3 different types of statistics. This is called as Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, first type. This is applicable for all atoms and molecules. Okay, atoms and molecules I am saying, or gases. So this type of statistic is applicable there. Distribution of molecules or particles in general, that is at normal temperature. This is called as Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. There is one Bose-Einstein statistics. The particles which are having their spin to be 0, 1, 2 into h cross, etc., integral multiple of h cross, these particles are Bose-Einstein particles, and their distribution is according to Bose-Einstein statistics. And there is one more statistic, this is called as Fermi-Dirac statistics, and all the particles which are having their spin to be half on odd integral, that is 1/2, 3/2, 5/2, etc., these particles are said to be fermions, and they distribute according to the Fermi-Dirac distribution type. And therefore, on the basis of these 2 distributions, we can classify them. One group is called as bosons, means they satisfy this Bose-Einstein statistics. You'll learn more about this when we go for this higher studies in statistical mechanics. They have their integral spins. Now these bosons are distributed in 2 different classes. One is called as massless bosons, that is the photons which is responsible for electromagnetic interaction, graviton which is responsible for this gravitational interaction. These are massless bosons. Everyone have their spin to be integral spin particles. Whereas another group which is having certain mass, these are called as mesons. And remember, mesons are again further classified in three groups. One group is called as pions, second group is called as kaons, and third group is called as leptons. So leptons is group of this actually I think we have this is something not correct here. This lepton should not be there, it is something different. So leptons have their spin to be always Hahn-Banach integral, so it is not a part of this. Okay, so these are said to be kaons. So pions and kaons, so these are three different types of pions: pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus. Whereas k plus, k minus, k0 and k minus, once again these are said to be the different types of kaons. These are the mesons. So they all have their integral spin and their masses are in between the mass of the leptons and masses of all the baryons and like that. So this is one part here. This is called as bosons or Bose-Einstein statistics. Second major group is that is called as Fermi-Dirac, or these are called Fermi-Dirac statistics. They obey Fermi-Dirac statistics, and this group is called as fermions. And all the fermions have their spin to be half integral spin particles, that is 1 by 2, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, etc. These particles, they are classified into the group which is called as fermions. Fermions are further divided into groups, that is called as leptons, which already we have discussed in earlier case: E plus, E minus, electron, positron, particle, antiparticle, mu plus, mu minus, this is particle, this is antiparticle, nu, that is the actually it is nu E, electron, neutrino minus, and like that. There are that means for each one of these particle there is particle in neutrino and antineutrino. So the electron neutrino, electron antineutrino, muon neutrino and muon antineutrino, and then tau neutrino and anti-tau neutrino. These 6 plus 6, there are 12 such type of particles in the group that is called as leptons. These are lightweight particles, already we have discussed their properties. Then fermions, second type of classification is that called as baryons or heavy. These are light, okay, these are heavy, and these are intermediate masses. So on masses we can go for this type of classification, that is mesons, leptons and baryons, and this is what the group as compared here. These baryons again have two different types of categories. One is called as hyperons. Hyperons means these are very heavy, and another group of that is called as nucleons, which are the part of the nucleus. So there is proton, antiproton, neutron and antineutron. Okay, so these proton, antiproton, neutron, antineutron, these are called as nucleons combinedly, which are going to be constituents of the nucleus. And remaining hyperion group has again lot many number of other particles. This is called as lambda hyperon. Most of the names you have not heard earlier, doesn't matter. Lambda hyperons, sigma hyperons, cascade hyperons, omega hyperons, and so on. And remember, this total list as we go for nowadays, day by day this list is increasing, and at present there may be around 200 such particles are there, maybe approximately, I'm not exact number here. So more than 200 such type of particles have been observed in the particle physics, and therefore this is a separate branch of physics which is called as particle physics, and actually we are studying all these type of particles, their interaction, their properties, their applications, and so on. So this is another separate branch from the nuclear physics, which is called as particle physics. This is one of the very flourishing branch nowadays, which is that people are understanding lot many types of interactions, particles, their natures, their applications, and so many things. So one can see very seriously about the career in this type of particles too, particle physics too, which is one of the promising career as of now. So this is what the classification of elementary particles based upon the masses as well as based upon the statistics, what we have seen here. Now this is what called as some members, okay, not all members of this particular zoo. This is the table I have directly taken from one of the book. Now see this particular group here, I am just reading this particular category. Then this is particle names, which we have already discussed earlier. Electric symbols used in physics there. Their antiparticles, these symbols again given. Now their masses have been mentioned in million electron volts per c square. These masses, as we say down the table, this goes on increasing. Then there is some B. B means baryon number. These are actually quantum numbers. And associated with that, we have further conservation rules like energy conservation, mass conservation. There is a baryon number conservation. There is a electron lepton conservation, lepton muon conservation, or tau lepton conservation, etc. Several different rules are there. So we are going to discuss these rules again later on. Then some of the particles are stable, some are unstable. That also list can be shown here. And principal decay, these particles, some particles which are stable, they do not undergo decay. Further decay is not possible. But some particles which are unstable, they undergo decay and they produce another elementary particles as shown here. Now see the first group: electron, electron neutrino, muon, muon neutrino, tau and tau neutrino. These 6 plus their antiparticles. So this is a group of all 12 such particles. Their masses 0.511 to 30 MeV. Okay, this is the range of the masses. Out of that, as I said, muon has some more mass, almost 105 MeV, and this mass of this tau is 1784 MeV. It is more than mass of the proton, remember, but still it is included in this group because of its properties are somewhere similar, that actually this type of particles undergo a specific type of interactions. That's why they have been included in this group. Then baryon number of all these particles is 000 because they are not of this group, members of this group. That's why all these numbers are taken to be 0 there. Here electron number, electron lepton number is +1 for electron, and same number for this positron will be -1. Okay, this is to be -1. Accordingly, L mu is not a group of member of this electron family, so it is 0. This is 0, and this is also, there is one more thing that is called as strangeness. This is another attribute for elementary particles required in quantum mechanics, that is called as strangeness. So strangeness of all these lepton members are 000. So this is the first group, that is called as lepton groups. These are the number of members, their antiparticles, their masses, their baryon numbers, their lepton numbers. So +1. Here it is L mu for muon and muon neutrino, that is +1. Their antiparticles are minus. Here for this tau it is +1 and +1, and this is all minus. All they have strangeness 0. Some of them are stable, some of them are unstable. Unstable gets reduced to this. This unstable particle gets converted to this, and all others, electron, muon, etc., that is electrons, muon, neutrino, then this tau neutrino, these are the stable particles and they remain, they do not undergo any decay further. This is our first group. Second, as we have seen, hadrons. Hadrons means these are the elementary particles which are undergoing this type of interaction, that is strong interaction. So the particles which are interacting with each other with the way of strong interaction, these are called as hadrons. Hadrons are classified in two different groups: mesons, that is intermediate masses less than baryons. So here members are pi plus, pi minus, then there is pi 0, then itself is its own antiparticle. There is one more family, kaon. This family has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. These are their masses. See their masses: 139.6 MeV up to 497 MeV. One more particle here is etalon, or eta, symbol for that is N, and it is self. N prime is another particle. This self is its own antiparticle. Their masses are maximum is found to be 958 MeV. Then these are not from the baryon family, so therefore their baryon number is 0. None of this is from the lepton family, so all their numbers are simply 0. Then they have certain strangeness. See, come here, this is +1. These are the three particles, K plus, K0 and KL0, etc. They are having their strangeness to be something 1, and this adds something, some different attribute is added to that particles here. You did not worry about this particular thing at this stage. All these are unstable. Their lifetime is from 10 to -8 second to 10 to -16 second to 10 to -8 seconds, and therefore all they undergo decay process, and these are the different types of decays that can be shown here. So which reactions are possible and which reactions are not possible, that will be decided by this quantum number conservation rules. Some of the examples we are going to discuss later on. Then third family, that is baryon. Smallest of the baryon is this proton and neutron. symbols are P, its antiparticle is P bar, its mass is 938 MeV, we know to that. Then it is from the baryon family, therefore its number is +1. Then 0, 0, so for else, and this is the maximum stable particle, and that's why we are in this universe. So proton is maximum stable unless there is no proton decay is observed anywhere, and therefore this entire universe is stable in that sense. Then neutron is another particle in this family, it has all these numbers given there. Then this lambda is another particles. Now look at their masses, it is 1150.6 MeV. This as compared to mass of this proton and neutron, this mass is bigger, and it goes on increasing again and again. Finally it becomes 1672 etc. That is particles called as omega plus and omega minus. So this neutron, then lambda, sigma is of 3 different types, their antiparticles, Z, C and omega, and their particles and antiparticles, their masses, all they have their baryon numbers to be +1, +1, +1. These antiparticles baryon number is taken to be -1, -1, -1 for right from this P bar to this omega plus etc. These numbers are assigned to be -1, -1, -1. Then since they are not from lepton family, therefore these numbers are simply 0. They are not from this mu lepton family, therefore these numbers are 0. They are again not found from this tau family, therefore their tau lepton number is also found to be 0. So we have to introduce, we have to use these numbers because there are certain conservation rules. These conservation rules are associated with these quantum numbers, either baryon number, lepton number, or this strangeness. Remember here, after this proton and neutron, all these heavy particles, their strangeness is something -1, -1, -2, -2, -3 etc. And that is very interesting fact associated with that. All these particles are very unstable. See the lifetime, 10⁻⁻20 seconds, 10⁻⁻10 seconds, very fraction of second. Momentarily these type of particles are generated. They are totally unstable and they undergo decay, and they finally produce proton, neutron, or elements, the elementary particles like this. So this is very interesting, but their strangeness is much different and different. So more about this we will see later on. Now I'm going to our textbook also has same table has been given there. You can study this table and you can study the classification of this type of elementary particles based upon these type properties and so on. Now my point is that we have to concentrate more on this, because different types of reactions we are going to study, whether the reactions are possible or not, that will be tested upon conservation of these numbers and like that. So why these numbers have been given this way and how to use them, that will be seen in the next. Okay, so that is what we call as a particle physics conservation laws. So far in physics we have conservation of energy, then momentum, linear and angular momentum conservation, there is a charge conservation, there is a spin conservation. These are the requirements of statistics. Now we add more to help balance particle reactions. Different types of particle reactions can be seen, whether the reactions are possible or not, that will be tested upon these conservation numbers. So first conservation rule is called as baryon number conservation. That is simple, very simple rule. Before interaction, whatever number of baryons are there, same number of baryons must be after the interaction. If there is a violation of this rule, then such type of that type of particle interaction will not occur. Whether the reaction will occur or not, if baryons are involved, every reaction has to satisfy this rule, which is called as baryon number conservation. Please note, all baryons, that is baryons like proton, neutron, etc., they have assigned this number to be +1, and all their antiparticles are assigned this number to be -1. Actually, from where this number comes, these numbers do come from quantum mechanics. These are not given by anyone else. That means someone felt that I should give assigned number this to be +1, I should assign number to be -1. This is not that easy. Actual this requirement of these numbers, that is from mathematics and quantum mechanics. So at present we will say that this all baryons will have their baryon number is +1, anti-baryons will have their number to be baryon number is -1. So proton, neutron have B is equal to +1, and antiparticles of all these, they will have baryon number to be -1. And for anyone else other than the members from baryon groups, this B will be 0 for all other particles, that is non-baryons and so on. Actually this proton, antiproton and antineutron, they have their B is equal to -1, and here also B is equal to -1. So baryon number for proton, neutron, their antiparticles and all other particles are plus and -1 that are to be taken, because based upon that we can have this type of conservation rule. So this rule tells you that this baryon number before interaction and baryon number after interaction must remain same. Then and then such type of decay or such type of interaction is possible. Along with this this energy conservation, momentum conservation, spin conservation, charge conservation, this every nuclear interaction must satisfy this baryon number conservation too. Then and then such type of reaction is possible. That is one case. Then another conservation number is lepton number conservation. So this is here, L is taken to be +1 for all leptons and -1 for all anti-leptons. We have seen there are three categories: Le, L electron, neon, and this tau. So three different types of lepton numbers are there, and all other particles which are not members of this lepton family, their L number is simply equal to 0 for all non-leptons. Example for electrons: electron E, electron neutrino nu E. Okay, they have their electron lepton number is equal to +1, whereas anti-electron, antiparticle of this, as well as antiparticle of this anti-electron neutrino, they have their Le is equal to -1. Again, this is a restriction from quantum mechanics. This is not anyone that felt that these numbers should be there, that's why these numbers are there. This is not the case. Other leptons have Le is equal to 0. That means barring this electron and anti-electron neutrino and their antiparticles, all other leptons, these are not members of this electron family, therefore their Le is equal to 0, but have their own lepton numbers, as already we have seen, L mu and Lt, and for that refer to the table already we have discussed in the last slide. So that gives you us an idea how these particular numbers are associated there. Now let's go for a very simple example. This is a neutron decay. Okay, now if I go for this simple rule, neutron decay, whether it is possible or not, you will find here, if I apply this baryon number conservation B, now here I just go for this simple method. Now N, then there is a P plus, that is proton, then electron -1, and that is anti-electron neutrino. If I go for this simple calculation, that shows me baryon number for this is +1, baryon number for proton is also +1, baryon number for this is 0, and baryon number for this is also for 0, because both of these are not the members of this baryon family. Therefore, if I write baryon number conservation before interaction, see here, this is 1 here on the, before interaction we have 1 on the left hand side, this baryon number. After the interaction, this is also 1 and +0 and +0. So 1 is equal to 1 is valid. So therefore baryon number conservation is satisfied by this reaction. Then after reaction, as we have seen, if we go for this lepton number, now we have seen this lepton number for electron, it is +1, whereas for anti-electron neutrino, since it is antiparticle, its Le is equal to -1. Therefore before interaction, if I see, before interaction there were no leptons, so this left hand side is 0. For then on the right hand side, proton has P plus has Le number is equal to 0, whereas electron has Le number is +1, and this anti-electron neutrino is having its number to be -1. So it is +1 -1 is 0. Therefore 0 is equal to 0 is satisfied there, and therefore lepton number conservation is also valid in this case. So this interaction shows that both baryon, along with energy conservation, mass conservation, charge conservation, everywhere. So if we go for charge conservation again, here charge of this particular left hand side is 0, whereas charge on the right hand side is +1, then it is -1, and this is also, it is a 0, then it doesn't carry any charge. So this is 0 is equal to 0. Charge conservation is also valid in this case. So along with mass conservation, momentum conservation, charge conservation, spin conservation, you will find that this type of interaction is possible because it satisfies all conservation rules, including baryon number conservation as well as the lepton number conservation. Now I think you might have understood how this type of conservation rules play a very vital and important role whether such type of nuclear interactions are possible or not. This is applicable to nuclear reactions too. This baryon number conservation, lepton number conservation, muon number conservation, each and every rule has to be applied there, and based upon that we can see their classification, we can see that whether the reactions are forbidden or whether the reactions are possible. So these things becomes easy after when we go for certain practice of understanding the particles, their groups, their numbers, and writing their conservation rules and verifying the conservation rules. If rules are verified, satisfied, then such reactions are possible. If rules are violated, conservation rules are violated, then such type of reactions are not possible. In that sense, we'll go for another example here. So see one reaction. First, there are 4 such reactions have been given. Out of this, we have already seen this is possible because it satisfies all the rules of the conservation rules there. Then this is mu minus E minus nu E bar and nu mu. Okay, this is muon neutrino. This reaction is also valid. This is also satisfies all the lepton number conservation, muon number conservation, then okay, mass conservation, charge conservation, everything. This is also valid. This reaction, this is decay of pion. Pion decays into muon and anti-muon neutrino. This reaction is also possible. Look at this reaction number 1. So here it is proton number is 1. Here also proton number is 1 or baryon number is 1. Here it is plus 1. This is 1. Again, it's a baryon number is 1. And this will have minus 1. So if I go for baryon number conservation, left hand side gives me 2, whereas right hand side gives you 1 plus 1 plus 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So 2 is never equal to 1, and therefore this shows this reaction is forbidden or not possible, since it doesn't agree with this baryon number conservation. That means from 2 protons we cannot generate 2 protons and 1 antiproton. So such type of reactions are possible or not, that can be tested very easily using this type of baryon number conservation. All other reactions you can test at home. These reactions are satisfied because it is given in your textbook too. So find out these reactions and their numbers, conservation numbers, verify these rules, and then you will find these reactions are possible as shown by this example. So this is one small quiz which based upon this particular table, the numbers, the reactions, and so many things. So all these are the reactions. So here this is what the answer of this earlier case. This is the disallowed reaction is A, because charge is not conserved in this case. Even baryon number is also not conserved. Q on the left hand side was 2 and Q on the right hand side is plus 1. That is one reason that reaction is discarded. As well as baryon number is also not conserved. Left hand side has baryon number plus 2, whereas right hand side has baryon number as plus 1. So plus 2 is never equal to plus 1, and therefore this reaction is discarded directly. Except this, all other reactions in the given set are possible. So such type of problems may be asked in examination based upon these type of conservation rules and these examples as shown here. So this is what the required understanding of the elementary particles, all these particles in that group, and their classification, their properties, their conservation rules, and so on. Further to this, that is what we are now entering into another subtopic, that is called as quark model. So this is what original quark model. So till now we have seen that this electron, proton, neutron, etc. Just a minute, are you getting my sound, students? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's okay. See, the things are a bit difficult for you at this stage, but when we read this, जेव्हा आपण पुस्तक वाचू, त्याचा अभ्यास करू, आणखी तुम्हाला ह्याच्यामध्ये जास्त आपल्याला हे कळायला लागू शकतं. डझंट मॅटर, आय विल मेक दिस थिंग्स ॲज सिम्पल ॲज पॉसिबल फॉर यू in my discussion only. So around 1961, Gell-Mann, okay, Murray Gell-Mann is another famous scientist, nuclear physicist, proposed hadrons have structures. Hadrons means all these mesons and baryons which are undergoing these strong interactions. They all have its that is called as they have some inner structure he proposed, and composed of more fundamental type of particles, and he named all these particles to be quark. Now why such name has been given, that is again an interesting thing. So how to name? So naming this type of particles is again a very different fact. different thing is there, difficult thing is there, and they have used directly names that are the names that have been used in everyday practice. So quark is such one such name that have been used there. So why quark is to be called as a quark? There is no such reason, okay, but still understand which is component of some protons as well as neutron. In that sense, I am calling it to be quark. Now these quarks have a very important property or fundamental property. They have fractional charges like E upon 3, electron charge divided by 3, or sometimes twice E by 3, electron charge multiplied by 2 by 3. This type of fractional charges the type of quarks carry. Initially there were thought to be three different types of quarks: up quark, down quark, and this is strange quark. Actually this is associated with this isospin, okay. So up, down, etc., whatever we use in our everyday practice, everyday life, this is not connected here. This is not associated with this up, down and words used here. So this is related to this isospin property. Up isospin, down isospin, sideways isospin. That in that sense strange or sideways quarks, that these types of names have been given. Mesons were made of two quarks. One is called as quark and second is called as anti-quark. So every quark has anti-quarks too. Every particle has antiparticle. Likewise, every particle has antiparticle too. And baryons were made up of three quarks. So this is what his proposal. He said that there exists such type of further fundamental particles of which these all baryons, mesons, etc. have been made. So their internal structure that possesses quarks, and quarks has this type of fractional charges. Initially he proposed there were three different types of quarks are existing. Names given them are up, down and strange. This is associated with the isospin of the quark, nothing else. Nothing, it has nothing to do with our usual words we use in everyday language, that is up, down and strange. Then mesons like pi plus, pi minus, etc. they are made of two quarks, of one is quark and one is anti-quark, and these are baryons were made up of three quarks. Now one of that may be anti-quark and two may be quark, or two may be anti-quark and one may be quark. This type of classification we are going to discuss here. So this is what the theory proposed in 1961, and then later on this theory was found to be correct according to this model, because lot many experiments were done and these experiments supported all this theory which was put by Gell-Mann, Murray-Gell-Mann and some other scientists. So this is what is not enough. So whether the story stopped there? Not. What is that? Soon after, experimental descriptions required the addition of three more quarks. So the story was not complete with these three quarks. There are some other elementary particles or some other particles which were existing, which are made up of some different types of quarks, and therefore three more quarks were proposed and discovered later on. Out of that, this top quark is discovered very early, around 1995 somewhere. Before that, all these quarks were developed, but this top quark was invented in 1995. So it was proposed earlier. In 1995 it was discovered. So top quark, bottom quark, charm quark. Again, names are very misleading, but need not worry about that. And symbols used for that is T, B and C. So earlier three, up, down, strange, then this top, bottom and char. So these six different types of quarks and their anti-quarks. This S bar, this is T bar, this is B bar and this is C bar. So this type of different 6 plus 6, this is called as the 12 number of quarks. So 12 quarks are there, and the entire universe is made up of these 12 quarks and remaining 12 nucleons. Okay, so 12 leptons, that is 6 leptons and their antiparticles. This entire universe, including you and me and everything, is made up of only these 12 such particles, which are really, in the real sense, these are called as the elementary particles. So proton, neutron are not elementary particles, nucleus is not, even atom is at all not at all, but electrons, muon, the tau particle, their antineutrinos, and these 6 type of quarks, they combinedly called as elementary particle. And this is what the theory, that is called as a standard model. So this concept was given by this standard model, which is said to be one of the very famous and important model which describes everything about this type of elementary particles. This also has certain shortcomings, but it is one of the most successful model of description of these elementary particles. If someone has more interest, he can search and he can study what the standard model is, how it is composed of, what are its parameters, etc., etc. That can be seen later on. So, and these three more conservation laws. So along with that, this we come across three more conservation laws. So the CBT, okay, bottom quark conservation, charm quark conservation, top quark conservation, etc. as there. So for charm, bottomness and topness. Now I'll just show you one such the picture which we have seen in the morning when we have started our discussion of this nuclear forces. Now we will come across this type of quarks. So this up, down, strange quark, their interactions and all these things. Let's try to find out this. Okay, someone please tell me whether you are seeing this or not. Just a minute, let it come on the our screen. Are you looking at this?
Yes.
Yes, this was the same diagram. Okay, we included in our earlier presentation, where we have seen how these protons and neutrons, they are exchanging this. What they are exchanging? These are the up, down. Okay, these are this up, down, down. Okay, neutron has up, down, down, and proton has up, down. Three quarks are there. Here are also three quarks, and these quarks, they interchange. Okay, what is that interchanging? That is pi plus, pi minus. So this particular diagram directly shows you the quarks are basically responsible for this type of strong interaction. So not only protons, neutrons, but quarks are the basic components which gives rise to this type of strong interaction, which can be seen from this particular diagram. So here we understand why quarks are important and how they are a reality. It's not a vague picture or any concept or any other hypothetical particles and like that, but this type of things exist in nature, and therefore we are having this type of strong particles, strong interactions, these type of particles, their bonding, their stability, and all other physical and chemical properties of elements are possible because of these things what we have discussed in this case. Okay, so this diagram is one of the important diagram that tells you how these quarks are there and how they interact with each other, and thereby these nucleus are bound together, and thereby there is a strong bonding between different types of nucleons inside the nucleus. So that's what I wanted to show in the morning, but I have shown it to be just now. So this is the quark theory. We have started with the Chelman. Now this is what are the properties of this quark and anti-quarks. Okay, see this upper table 3.3, 30.3. This table is for all quarks, and these are all anti. So up, so it is symbol is U, spin of that is 1/2, charge is fractional 2/3 plus positive charge. Baryon number is secondary to 1/3. This is again a requirement from the quantum mechanics. It doesn't have a strangeness. Charmness is 0, bottomness is 0, topness is also equal to 0. Likewise, down, it is symbol is D, symbol is plus, sorry, spin is 1/2. Now this charge is negative, minus 1/3 times E. Then it has baryon number to be 1/3. Strangeness is again 0, 0, 0, all the numbers are 0 here. This is strange. Strange in the sense, symbol is S, spin is 1/2. This charge is minus 1/3 times E, like this. So the charge of this and these are the same. Baryon number of this and this is the same, but it is strange as compared to this. That's why its strangeness is -1. So it is something different, and all the numbers are 0, 0, 0 there. Okay. Then this is charm. So it is C, symbol for C, that is 1/2. Then it is plus 2/3. So this and these are the same. Its baryon number is 1/3, but it has some different charm, and therefore +1. So the difference between up and this charmed quark is this particular charm number is, and that's why, as I said, experiments show that need of 3 more types of quarks, and there is all these 3 more quarks have been developed. Last is this bottom, second last is bottom, and last one is top quark. Its topness is going to be +1. Okay, this is what all quarks. Now all anti-quarks, only you have to replace the change the number plus to minus. So it is U bar, there is anti-up quark, 1/2 is spin. This charge is minus 2/3 E. Plus you are here, it was plus 2/3 times E, plus it becomes minus 2/3 times E. Now its baryon number was positive. Baryon number of this anti-up quark is taken to be minus 1/3. Again, strangeness, everything is equal to 0, 0. So this quark and anti-quarks are the basic foundation blocks of hadrons, and hadrons, that means mesons and baryons are formed from this. Okay, and another last table here, quark composition of several hadrons. Okay, now this is given. Pi plus is made of d bar and u. Okay, d bar means this down, anti-down, and up, that comes together, that becomes pi plus. Pi minus is made up of u bar and d, that's why they are antiparticles to each other. K plus is s bar and u. K minus is u bar and s. K0 is s bar and d. And remaining baryons, this is the fundamental, that is proton, which is made up of u, u, d, whereas neutron is made up of u, d, d. You can imagine, and that's what we had said in the beginning. We said that neutron possesses positive as well as negative charges simultaneously, because this u charge has 2 plus 2 by 3 and d has charge minus 1 by 3. So plus 2 by 3 minus 1 by 3 minus 1 by 3 is now total charge is 0. So it is not chargeless, it is neutral in that sense on the basis of this type of quarks charges, which can be seen here. And more about this, all other heavy particles, these are said to be made up of different types of quarks. So these are the different combinations of different types of quarks, and that gives rise to these separate types of particles. Almost all these particles are totally unstable. They decay into either proton, neutron, or some other particles as shown in these interactions which you have seen earlier. So this is what called as elementary particle physics, and this is what interaction and all these things are there. So note that these things are not mentioned in your textbook, but it doesn't matter. These things are very interesting and important to understand this type of particle nature of this universe and this entire things there. Okay, so this is again a classification of all these quarks. So particle or the quark, U, its rest energy 360 MeV, charge is plus 2 by 3. D down quark 360 MeV, minus 1 by 3. Charum, then strange, then top and bottom. And remember, this particular charge, this particular quark has very heavy energy, 5 GeV, much bigger as compared to proton, neutron, or any of this. And this charge is again minus 1 by 3. And this is one of the very bottom type of quark, strange type of quark, top type of quark, charm type of quark, down type of quark, up top quark. And remember, these names which you have associated, these are with the isospin, another quantum mechanical condition that is to be understood in quantum mechanics. Here we have to understand, just like a charge, we say plus charge, minus charge. Like a spin, there is some more property that is called as isospin. Along with that, there is some more that is called as strangeness. So these words do come in particle physics only. In our everyday life, we do not need these words and these many types of terms and so many things. So this is now, if we go for, this is comparison, fundamental particles. These are the properties of all 6 quarks and their anti-quarks. We can go for that. Another group of fundamental particles, these are called as leptons. These are 6 leptons and their anti-leptons, and they have their masses. The rest energy of the electron is 0.51 MeV or 511 keV. Its charge is minus E. Mu minus is 107 MeV. This is minus E. This is 1784 MeV, heavier, but it is lepton. Its charge is also minus 1. So nature has assigned charge to all these 3. Masses are different, masses are different, charges are same, and that's what these become 3 leptons there. And their anti-electron neutrino, muon neutrino, and tau neutrino, these are 3 particles where these masses are given by this. They do not carry any charges there. So this 6, earlier 6 plus this 6, total, okay, 6 plus 6, these are the total particles needed, plus 4 interchange particle like photon, this gluon, gravitron, etc. These 4, this total 12 plus 6, these 16 particles are sufficient to describe this entire universe. In that sense, all these particles are called as these elementary particles. Okay, so I hope you would have understood this. Diagrammatically, we can go for understanding this. These quarks in meson and baryons are as shown here. Pi plus, as we have already seen, this is given by U and D bar. Now you can, once I understood properties of this U and D bar, their charges, their masses, etc., I can very easily understand the properties of this pi plus meson, which is used in the exchange of the nuclear force or strong nuclear force between proton-proton, neutron-proton, or neutron-neutron. Then this is K minus. one of the meson, which composed of this U bar and strange quark, and that forms it together, and that forms this K bar minus, K minus. This is what, in case of proton, we have U and D, up, down. These three quarks come together and do form a proton, and that is a special properties of positive charge. Whereas this is, as I said, this charge of this is plus 2 by 3 times E plus, okay, if I go for total charge calculation, 2 by 3 times E plus 2 by 3 times E minus 1 by 3 times E, minus because of this. And if I go for this calculation, it comes to be E plus, or plus 1 times E plus E. This, if I do this calculation, that gives me simply 1 times E, that is the positive charge. Whereas in this case, if I go for this calculation, it is plus 2 by 3 times E minus 1 by 3 times E minus 1 by 3 times E. This is because of these two DD particles. Total charge is 0 times E, and that's why it is a neutral. So why proton is neutral charge particle, why neutron is chargeless or neutral? That is because of these quarks and their fractional charges do come together, they add or subtract, and based upon that the properties of protons and neutrons are associated with this. So that is what we have to understand from quarks, how these baryons are generated, from baryons how this nucleus is generated, from nucleus how atoms are being generated, and from atoms how molecules and other substances have been made. So this inquiry of understanding this nature, right from heavy particles, heavy object, solid, liquid, gases, etc., molecules, atoms, nuclei, then proton, neutron, inside that this is what quarks. This entire theory goes as by this, and that is what I said earlier. For that you have to study this very interesting model that is called as a standard model. So see, one more thing is to be associated here. Along with that, there is one word called as color. Now this color and color word we use in our everyday practice, this has to do nothing. They do not have any relation with each other. Still we are using this word color. Because of Pauli's exclusion principle, all quarks are spin half particles. Can't have three of same particles occupying the same state. So because of this Pauli's exclusion principle, three quarks cannot occupy a particular same state, and this is what this particular further things gives rise to one of the important parameter that is called as color. Example, this omega minus is SSS, so need three different yet strange quarks, so colored quarks were proposed. So in spite of having positive and negative charges for spin, one half minus half spin, we are assuming there is some more another quantum mechanical parameter that is called as color, and this interaction is color interaction, and this color interaction gives rise to this type of particles which are called as omega minus and so on. So this is again a bit difficult concept for you all. We are not stretching this much more, but try to understand quarks interact with each other with certain types of color interaction. Just like what we have already seen, electromagnetic interaction, strong nuclear interaction, there is also color interaction that is to be seen here. So color continued. The three colors charges were added. Okay, color charges, electrical charges is different, color charges are different, and these are red, green, and blue. Again, these these words we use in painting has nothing to do with this RGB and RG and B. There are three different varieties, and they have been given names like this RG and B. Please know, there are no other scientific words which can be used here. Otherwise, you will again get a confusion, and to not have a confusion, we are using the words which are usually commonly used in everyday practice. And there are three anti-colors. Colors are there, anti-colors are there, anti-red, anti-green, and anti-blue. Again, RGB. Actually, these are bar. Okay, this is anti-red, anti-green, and anti-blue. These are the three different types of colors. Mesons have a color anti-color pair. Okay, so spin is either 0 or 1, so can have either spin up. Okay, this is you 1 and this gives you 0. So this gives you 0 and this gives you 1, and therefore spin of mesons is integral multiple of H cross, and that's why these are all called as bosons. We have seen. So this color interaction and their spin, they have something very special. Baryons must have three different colors, so spin is one half. Okay, why protons and neutrons have spin half? That is because of these polar interactions of such type of quarks. So up down, or down down up. So adding this gives me 1, subtracting this gives me half, and therefore total spin of this proton is 1/2. Similarly, total spin of the neutron is -1/2. So this type of picture of the proton, neutron and their properties, these are actually associated with this type of what we say polar interaction, and which is associated with these quarks. So quarks is more fundamental as compared to anything else. And now this is what a total spin, as we have seen. So quark and anti-quark spin, meson gives is spin to be 0 and 1, already we have discussed, and total spin is either 1/2 or 3/2, depending on different types of baryons, how many type of different quarks it has. Based upon that, it has half integral spin, either 1/3, 1/2, 3/2, at times h cross, etc. So this is what the ideas or the pictures that have been given by this entire theory. So I understand these things, to understand all these things at this TY-BSc level is bit difficult, but the same thing is you are supposed to study when you go for the higher studies like MSc or post-graduation and all that. Till then, I think it will be very clear for you all what these elementary particles are there, how they are classified, what are their properties, and what is their actual implication. Why to understand these particles? Without understanding this, we won't understand anything at micro level. If we don't understand anything at micro level, then we do not understand anything as what we call as a science. So in that sense, we have to learn all these things. That is called as theory of the elementary particle. As I said earlier, go for this very interesting model which is called as standard model. I hope someone would not have got the project for the subject for his project. I could have recommended study of this model that is called a standard model, and you could have got some very interesting understanding of some physical concepts there. So today we will stop here in this particular lecture, that is the elementary particles. I hope you will understand, everyone will understand. I have recorded all these things, and it will be made available to later on. Till then, thank you all. Just a minute.